Hello, nonprofit leaders. I'm Sarah Livieri, your host, and this podcast is here to assist people like you, executive directors, board members, and other nonprofit leaders make a bigger impact with insights, tips, and lessons learned from nonprofit leaders and experts. Having been an executive director, a board member, and now a consultant and coach, I truly understand the challenges you face. And that's why I'm here. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, so you can make a bigger impact without the burnout. And so is our sponsor, DonorBox. DonorBox isn't just a suite of helpful fundraising tools, it's a partner that helps you raise more money and supports you in retaining your donors. I love their forward-thinking approach. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. And don't forget to sign up for the Inspired Nonprofit Leadership newsletter, where you'll get bite-sized, actionable tips just for nonprofit leaders like you, delivered weekly to your inbox. Sign up at inspirednonprofitleadership.com/sign up. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. My guest for this episode is Lisa Levy, who is a dynamic business strategist, best-selling author, and founder of Lcubed Consulting, where for over 16 years, she has helped visionary founders and leadership teams scale with confidence and agility. As a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and Project Management professional, which is exciting, I'm sure she'll tell us about, Lisa's work focuses on aligning people, processes, and technology to eliminate chaos and drive sustainable impact. Her proprietary adaptive transformation framework has helped thousands of organizations boost productivity and foster self-reliant teams. A #1 best-selling author of Future Proofing Cubed, Lisa has also been the host, or is the host, of Disrupt and Innovate podcast and has been recognized as one of the best women leaders of 2021. She brings over 2 decades of expertise across sectors, including nonprofits, to help mission-driven organizations thrive in an ever-changing world. Welcome, Lisa. It's such a pleasure to have you. Before we dive into things, leadership and stuff that really excites me, I'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself personally to round you out as a whole person.
Absolutely, Sarah. So I am the most extroverted introvert you're ever going to meet. I love having these conversations in this space because like being in a room full of people having a conversation is so incredibly terrifying to me, and I'm so uncomfortable doing that this lets me have an opportunity to feel safe in my own little surroundings and have my dog asleep underneath the desk at my feet, and we can have all of the good conversations that we want, and I don't have to go out and deal with stranger danger.
Oh, I love that so much. Actually, just before we're recording this episode, I was assigned a task to come up with 3 goals that I have for a networking event or a learning to network. It's a relationship building event for entrepreneurs. And I was like, their goals are like what you want to ask people for help with. And I'm like, I don't want to ask anybody for help, right? Like, I'm with you, right? I just want to sit and I want to observe. I want to interact. I don't want any pressure. But it was really
Seriously,
good. Yeah.
networking events are terrifying. And I say that, and I host a big one in Phoenix. My
Okay.
number one goal at the end is for nobody to leave the room feeling like they have to go home and take a shower because somebody there was like sleazy.
I love that. I love that. Well, this event is surely not to be like that. And I do appreciate them giving all of us a chance to like formalize what we're looking for. And they're actually going to help all the introverts make sure that their asks are put out there. They don't even have to say it themselves. So, all right, let's dive into leadership and framework. So, first of all, I just want to dive in. I know what Lean Six Sigma is, but I suspect a lot of our audience listening, they're like, Six is what? So would you introduce that concept to us since it was in your bio?
So I will by saying it doesn't matter. It's one of those things we put in the bio because it's credentials and it's credibility and it's all of those things. But for most businesses, really what that means is about understanding how your business operates, knowing what work is being done, why it's being done and why it's important. The rest of the Six Sigma things around that, it's metrics and all of the things that help us measure and quantify and do all of those things that make us sound really important. But it is that simple. What do we do? Why do we do it? Why does it matter? Yeah. Sure. So let me just kind of context. For about 16 years ago, I left corporate and started my consulting journey because I saw consulting teams come in, sell services for exorbitant amounts of money, create silos and reinforce those silos inside of organizations. So in many ways, I had the opportunity to watch consulting team A combat consulting team B, and oh my God, there's consulting team C doing something else. And none of it was driving value. And employees were frustrated. I'm sure customers of those companies were frustrated because products and services weren't getting to market and they weren't what customers expected. And that's ugly. And so I had what I call a grown up temper tantrum. And I literally, in my head, standing in the parking lot outside of the building, I was kicking my feet and waving my arms and screaming at the top of my lungs like any toddler you've ever seen in an inappropriate restaurant or grocery store. I had this whole moment inside my head, and I went, I can do this better. And so, what did that mean to me? And it was taking all of these things that I'm credentialed in: project management, process performance management, organizational change, risk mitigation, and building the adaptive transformation framework so that any business of any size can leverage those really cool best practices that large corporations spend millions of dollars on every year, that consulting organizations charge millions of dollars for every year, but build those skills and capabilities inside of any team. And that was what why I wanted to help influence and I wanted to help impact businesses, because with those tools that can be incredibly expensive and incredibly daunting, if we pull it down to the simplest elements, everybody can do this work.
I love it. And I completely like am in the same boat with you. I think so often we get stuck asking, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do? And the reality, the big unlock for most people is not what to do, but how to get stuff done. And like you're saying, the tools of how to get stuff done, the concepts are are not hard. But sometimes I think they're not obvious, and my theory is they're not obvious because that's not how public school works, and most people are just trained in how to get stuff done based on what they first knew in public school. And then they're like, well, we'll just do it like that now that we're grown up. Do you
Well,
feel that way? Yeah.
and let's be serious. What skills are those that teach us how to get things done from school?
Yeah, mostly like I'm not a public school product, so to me, I look at public school and I'm like, that's weird. I respect that I love that we have public school. Like, I don't want to like diss public school in that regard, but when I look at public school, I see a lot of human being management. Like, how do we move bodies through and have like nobody kill each other during the day? I see a lot more of that than like how do we grow leaders. And sometimes I think people are afraid to grow a whole group of leaders.
Oh, I think that actually growing leaders is the scariest kind of beautiful thing we could ever do. And so, right, I listed off all of those things. Let's do project management. What does that actually mean? So it's a simple set of tools. There's something that needs to be done. We define what that is. We get a group of people together to figure out how to do it. What are the tasks? How long are they going to take? What kind of skills need to be involved in this? Do we have them inside? Do we have to hire them from outside? And you map out the work, and now you have a project plan, and you go and you do the work. and it never goes according to that plan because it just doesn't. And you adapt and you respond and you finish it. That's project management. It's not rocket science. Anybody inside of an organization can do this. Any high school student can do this. I would argue a middle school student probably can have this line of logic and figure out, right, there's a path of things to do. Process management becomes sort of the same thing. What do I do every day? What do I need from somebody else to do the work that I do? When I'm done with it, where does it go? And what do they need to have to be able to do their job well? And if I'm doing something that doesn't add value, ask the question, why are we doing it? And get rid of it if we can. And now not only is it process management, it's lean process management because we're managing a value chain. Crazy. Anybody can do this. It's just we don't teach people how to do it and we don't empower them to go and do it. And so I love creating and building cultures where I call self-reliant leadership teams, where all of these skills, right, with our adaptive transformation framework, we're teaching, we're coaching, we're mentoring. Great. They're out doing the work. I don't bring in large teams to execute the work because we know how to do it, and that's great. And if we do it for you, the next time you're going to need us to come back. And the next time you're going to need us to come back. Or we never actually leave, and you can call us a big four consulting firm, and we've landed and expanded, and we're running your business for you. That's not the goal.
No, it works, but it's an expensive way to get it done.
And it doesn't always work.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And so the goal is, right, to have teams of people who are capable of asking questions, challenging what's going on around them, having a leadership team that is comfortable and confident enough that they have hired the right people around them to say they're asking good questions, they're making good decisions. We're going to let them action on those decisions without asking for permission every time they want to do something. A little crazy, right?
It's that is you're speaking my language. But yeah, I mean, yes. Delegating I have so many things I want to dive into here. But go ahead if you want to add more.
Sure. So, right, all of this starts to, extrapolate down and out. And at different layers of the organization, at your supervisory layer, right, they're making the decisions for the frontline resources. And as it goes up, when you have a leadership team that is not making every decision about every operational matter every single day, they have the amazing ability to be forward thinking and strategic. What does that mean for a business, a nonprofit, an organization of any size to have its top 3 to 5 people focused on the future and only managing, the obnoxious exceptions that rise up that are real crisis type moments?
Yeah. It means you are more anti-fragile. It means you're more robust in emergency. This makes me, of all my other questions, I have to tell a quick story about my mom, who, as I reached the age of getting close to graduating the teeny, very non-traditional private school that I went to when I was a kid, my mom took over. No one else would do the job. She had no experience in it. And she ended up growing this school from like 30 kids to 150 kids. And she ran the school for 17 years. And in talking to her as an adult about, what it was like when she'd really dialed in how to lead this school well, she said, well, really, I most of the day I sit at my desk and I play solitaire on the computer so that I look busy enough that like people aren't coming to me for everything, but I'm free if something really needs my attention. And she didn't just play solitaire, but I think that's what, you know, leadership often looks like. And I think that's partly what you're describing, right? So that she's available to be forward thinking, to walk around and see how things are going, to be proactive. And that huge like risk mitigation piece to me is you need your leadership team to have extra unused time so that when the things go a little wonky in the world, they're available to step in and they're not now above and beyond capacity.
Absolutely. I love that she told the story that she sat and she played solitaire on the computer. That's just beautiful and lovely. And I hope that at least a part of every day was actually playing solitaire on the computer because
It was. Yeah. And sometimes Minecraft. Not Minecraft. That's what kids play. What was the one? Minesweeper, where you click the
uh,
little, you push the little dots. It was came
yeah.
free with Microsoft. It was all the rage back in the 90s.
And so what your mom did sort of naturally, right? This was an instinct. Nobody taught her, nobody trained her. But in those moments when she was doing that, right, she was letting her brain rest. She was refocused on something and not creating busy work for the business of the school to take up her time and her energy. And she took that time out, right? If every leader took, and let's just arbitrarily say an hour a day for thinking time, the changes that would make to businesses would be substantial.
Yeah. And so often our leaders don't give, they want that so badly, and they don't give themselves permission
Mhm.
to let that be a valuable part of their job.
Yeah.
I want to ask you kind of, use my mom's story as a segue. Part of why she was able to do that is she had built a team that she
Mhm.
trusted, and she delegated not just tasks, but decisions too. And you mentioned, that building a team that you trust to make decisions. And often, I mean, that's a huge part of any business or nonprofit, but that can be a challenge. I know I come into a lot of nonprofits and I'd be like, well, you don't quite have, sometimes you have a trust issue yourself, but sometimes you don't have that team
Yeah.
yet. Can you talk a little bit about how people can know if they have that team and they just need to give them the chance and the structure, or if they don't really have that team and they need to
Okay.
shift it up a bit?
So that's an interesting question I want to play with a little bit. And one part of the answer is you may not have that team, right? You have good people, but they may not be that team yet. And so it's coaching, it's nurturing, and getting them into that space. One of the things that I do with all of my clients, regardless of the size of the organization, is build the idea of an innovation engine as part of what they have in their business. And the power of this is it's really bottom up. And what it is creating on a regular interval a time for everybody to share ideas. I think it would be great if we could do this thing or that thing and have everybody share those ideas, because the strength of the future of the business, the entity, the organization really comes from those ideas. And we create these ideas and we gather them, and it's an exercise of quantity, not quality. And it's not, we want people to share the silly ideas, the crazy, the absurd, the it's never going to be possible under any set of circumstances, but if we talk about it a little bit, it's going to trigger something from somebody else that is absolutely a game-changing possibility. So this idea of ideation is really critical, and it needs to happen everywhere, and it should, except at the very, very top. We want those ideas to get pushed up. And so we go through and we create all of these ideas, and then we need to prioritize them a little bit, because hopefully we have a lot of them. We have way too many. And so then spend a little time nitpicking, right? The ones that you can probably do quickly, the ones that you know absolutely can't be done, and you qualify to get a working list of 10 to 20 and start to think about, all right, which one of these is the most interesting to us right now? And get a group of people across functions, different levels within the organization, different years of experience, to sit around a conference room table, sit in a Zoom room, however it is that you do collaboration, and play with that idea. And what I mean by that is create the conference room prototype. We're not doing anything other than a thought exercise. What's involved in making this idea real? What do we need? What are the resources? What are the people, the money, the things, the amount of time? How do we create that kind of project plan of what that might look like, and identify what's possible, what's not possible, and what some of those gaps might be? And if it's a really good idea, take it to leadership and say, "Hey, here's an idea." And you take 3 or 4 of those forward, and leadership is going to evaluate them and say, "Hey, why don't we play with one?" So now we have the idea, and still keep in mind, I'm not talking anything like research and development type stuff. These are all thought exercises. And we have this great new service that is going to make our customers so much more happy. So maybe we do a little focus group with them. Maybe we get on the phone and we have customer service call a percentage of customers that we have let down in the past and say, hey, we know we didn't do the best job for you on this one thing, but we have this new idea. What do you think about it? And gather data and intelligence and understand if that idea is actually meaningful or not. Out of all of that, in a couple of days, weeks, right, you can come up with maybe there's something you actually want to build out in terms of a new process, a new service, right, a new product, whatever those things might be. And in the course of a year, you might do one or two of those things and actually take them to market. And you're looking at me like, Lisa, what does this have to do with figuring out who that team is of people who's actually going to deliver stuff? Well, here's the deal. The people who actively participate in this process are your emerging leaders. They may be frontline employees today, but if you give them this opportunity and you take some of these ideas and they participate in taking them to market and growing over time, in 6 months, they're probably going to be a supervisor. And in another 18 months, maybe they're a manager. And whatever the realistic cadence is for growth, they are self-selecting in to participate in the future. That's how you find the emerging leaders. And as you experiment with these ideas and start to make them real, the people who lead those efforts are that closest to that next level of being actual leaders. You're giving them the opportunity to prove themselves, their commitment, their capabilities grow along the way and make real impact for the betterment of the organization.
Yeah. I love that you said how you find your emerging leaders. I feel like I've been having this conversation a lot recently around when it comes to delegating leadership type decisions. It doesn't really work to say you will now be accountable for this. Yeah. You need people to raise their hands and say, I accept that kind of accountability or responsibility, because it's heavier, it's more complex, it's not so much in their control. People respond to that approach in general for everything better, but I think especially at that level, you need to be asking people to be, you have to have opportunities for them to raise their hand, say, yes, put me in, like, I'm interested, like, not just through their words, but through their actions as well. Right. Another theme I really hear emerging, and for those of you just listening, Lisa has this beautiful drawing of a brain. It looks like one of those like talk diagrams, but there's this great brain on it. And I hear you saying a concept I think about a lot, even if I don't talk about it, is like, how can we unlock as many brains as possible? Like that's one of our best hidden capacities, is we have people who have brains, and how can we get them to get their brains to work for us? So I just want to reflect for those people listening, like I've heard you say, like, leaders need thinking time. They need time to use their brains. It makes our organizations better. That you need to give everybody a chance to just get in a room and start thinking and talking and having ideas, brain, mind exercises, conceptual exercises. I love that so much.
And it's one step further, right? The brain behind me, left brain, right brain, process and system thinking versus creativity and empathy. When I describe the innovation engine, that second step, I use the phrase very specifically, play with the ideas. Playing is a creative activity, something that as kindergartners, we did it all day, every day. And as adults, we don't give ourselves permission to do it. And yet when we do, the best things happen. And so it is a change, right? And it is a freedom, and it is leadership granting the space, the safety, the opportunity for all of this to happen. Because let's be serious, right? Out of hundreds of ideas, 1, 2, 3, or 4 may actually become very real. The rest of them are learning opportunities. They're opportunities for growth and refinement, and maybe they come back around in the future. And some of them flat out fail. And that's good, and that's okay, and we want that to happen because we'd rather fail in a thought exercise than in a product launch.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to highlight, sometimes I say, like, I'm a collector of words, helpful words, and especially strategic questions. But I love play with the idea. Like you said, that unlocks people's imagination, it frees them. It reminds me of the phrase, try this idea on, right? It makes us not have that reaction like, I hate it, right? Like, I'm just trying it on. I'm not being told I have to buy it. That's great. I want to dig into processes for a second because I feel like you know a lot about processes, and I'd love to start with I've heard a few process horror stories, so I'd love to hear some of yours. Two that are coming to my mind are an organization that you mentioned. Oh, we need to, like, have some, clean up our processes, get things a little more consistent. Their processes, we hate processes. And that was an organization that had a lot of, like, governmental mandates, and they've had a lot of really bad processes, like, shoved down their throats, and they've been required to do them. And then another one more recently where the organization was like, well, people aren't really following our processes. I was like, all right, tell me about it. And they're like, well, we write up an SOP and then we kind of hand it out and then we kind of forget about it. And I was like, well, an SOP of a brand new process you haven't even tested or confirmed is any good, right? And then you just were done once you threw it into ChatGPT and copied it into that Google Doc and sent it out in an email. I was like, well, that's, probably not going to work for good reason, which I'll let you tell us. What are your process horror stories, how not to do it? And then what are some of the key fixes?
Okay. Oh my gosh. So, favorite process horror story. I was working with a client and the utility company, this is a big business, and they were not for profit, but not part of the story. Their customers were home builders building large tract homes, right? Setups, and never got their energy to the site in a timely manner. So they're always pissed off because all they need is the electricity so that they can actually build homes. We sat down with the builders. I sat down with all of the teams inside of the utility company. There was more than 50 people involved in this process. And with a big whiteboard, wanted to draw the process with boxes and arrows because they didn't have it end to end documented anywhere. They gave me a stack of paper this big, but it made no sense. And so we were drawing and we did all of this. And it took us days to actually get it on the board and refined. And this is what it is. And basically, it looked like chaos because it's what it was. And most of the process steps went something like this: we do this thing, we send an email, we wait. If we haven't received an email back in 5 days, we send another email and we wait. And when that doesn't work, they have a checklist to tell them all the other things that they could do. We could send a fax, we could send and all of these things. And so every process step had like 3 things where they wait. And then the checklist to tell them that they've done all of the things to cover their backside so that nobody can yell at them for not doing covering the bases. This was a 20 plus week process that once we understood all of the gaps and what was happening, we refined it down to 4 weeks, where it was really simple. We do this one thing, we ask for verification. If we don't receive follow-up in an SLA, we've defined a time period for it, we pick up the phone and we call. And just by changing and improving the flow of communication, just that alone cut the process in by half. And then some more sophisticated refinement, took it from 10 weeks down to 4 weeks. Communication alone was the first fix that made a measurable difference, a 50% gain, measurable difference. So that's that horror story. On the other side, in that whole, and then in this day and age, ChatGPT wrote us a new process, and we put it in the Google Doc, and we said it's on the drive, and go learn it. Well, nobody learns that way. And my favorite part about process, and in my career, in my team's work, that the things we've done over 16 years, thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of processes that we've flowed out and put on paper in different ways, shapes, and forms. The process never holds for very long. There's statistics going back
Can
to
you
that
just
whole
say
thing.
that again? I want people to hear
Oh,
that.
The process does not hold for any length of time. So, going back 20 years, the Total Quality Management Association said that processes should be updated and refined annually. Like 20 years ago, that was the norm. At the speed and rate of business today, the statistic is processes should be updated monthly. That's how fast things change. It's obviously not totally doable, and nor am I suggesting that everybody should touch every process every month. But what I love the best and my favorite thing when I start with a new client in a new environment and I ask people, show me your process documentation and all of these things, and let's bring it in and let's talk about what the processes are. Then I ask to meet the person who doesn't follow the process and gets their job done. And everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. And I said, no, 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 you know the person. You all think that they don't do their job fully. They're the ones that leave Friday at 3 in the afternoon, and the rest of you are all pissed off about it. I want to meet that person because there's somebody who runs every process who's figured out how to shorten the process. They're fabulous.
That
Everybody.
was me in one of my jobs once. They were like, here's this 5-day job, and it was way underpaid. I was like, how about I do that in 3 days and you just pay me the 5 day and then we'll call it good. And they're like, really? I'm like, let's just give it a try. And the executive director who hired me on the third day, he was like, well, by the third day, Sarah was training me.
Right.
So yeah.
Some people refer to that individual, so you did it in a very proactive sort of way, but some people refer to that person as the lazy one. Oh yeah, they don't do anything, right? They're sitting at their desk playing solitaire, right? They're not doing work. No, no. If they've already done their work, they're filling time to look busy, which we've talked about. It can be a good thing, but in this context, it is still a good thing because they did their work. But now we want everybody else to learn how to do it as quickly as they did, because then there's new things that they could possibly be doing. Because I'm betting that sitting there playing solitaire was not their lifelong goal. So that's the other part. So with those processes, always looking for those people who are breaking them for all of the right reasons. Because as much as I want to say I'm left brained and every process is sacred, it's not. It's as good as it was yesterday. And if somebody figures out a faster, better way to maintain quality, let's do it. Mhm. They are, and I love the mad scientist kind of idea and that because in the neurodivergent space, they don't know that they're breaking the rules, right? They're just trying to find the way through it that makes sense to them, and they don't have all of the baggage of that's the way we've always done it, that's the only way to do it. They're gonna find the way that works, and that's fabulous.
Yeah, I love it. Well, miraculously, we are at time. I have loved every second of this conversation. For others who are thinking, yes, we want more Lisa, who should be reaching out to you? And what's the best way to do that? And any resources that you have for them?
Absolutely. So, anyone who's leading teams that feels like your team just depends on you too much for all of the decisions, you're juggling strategic goals and trying to balance out their day to day chaos. I get it. It sucks. But we've talked about it today. They have a proven framework where you can turn your team into high performing, self reliant leaders, and they will drive those results with or without you because you've given them the skills and capabilities to do it. I've documented it in the Innovation Engine Blueprint. And if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, because that's the place to find me, Lisa L. Levy is the easiest way to get there. Connect with me and message me the word innovation, and I will send you the blueprint so that you can get an idea of what it is in a little bit more detail than we covered here today. And if that resonates for you, reach out to me again, and I'm happy to schedule some time to talk with you about building that self reliant leadership team that can scale your business around you while you're focused on other things.
Lisa, thank you so much for being here. And everyone out there listening, thank you for everything you do to make our communities better. We are here rooting for you. I'm here to bring you guests and insights that help you do your job more easily, find that leadership team, do all the things, create the amazing processes, update them monthly if that's what needs to be done. And I have a small favor to ask of you. If you would share this podcast with a friend or colleague who would benefit from it. And if you have a little bonus time, leave a review, like, subscribe, because that helps the algorithm with its process of bubbling up this show to the surface so that more people can discover it. Until next time, all the best.
You've been listening to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode or the bonus episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Tune in every week for more useful insights and wisdom on nonprofit leadership. Thanks so much for all you do for the communities you serve. Until next time, all the best.